As a teenager, Katherine was aloof, and she thought about majoring in biology, chemistry, or physics. However, she never felt fulfilled learning about these subjects, finding them mundane. When she heard the poem "When I Heard the Learned Astronomer" by Walt Whitman, which she learned to recite from memory, it changed her outlook to extraterrestrial pursuits. Allured by the thrill of discovery itself, she knew she found her calling, seeing the poem as a way one should live their lives. The story of how her parents met changed as she grew older. For years they told her how her mother was a nurse. In actuality, her mother was a former patient at Allegheny Asylum, and her father worked at Vault-Tec University and needed her mother's help for a project he was working on. He pulled some strings and got her out of the asylum, and along the way, she stole a worker's uniform. When the scandal broke, she decided to confess to the lesser crime of being a patient. This revelation shocked Katherine, who became concerned that she would develop any mental illnesses herself. Seeking to validate her sanity, she decided to test the question, how far does the apple fall from the tree? Literally. She found and shook a tree viciously, only stopping when apples rained down on her. In her embarrassment, she realized that she had never any reason to suspect her mother was mentally ill. Although at peace with this information, her mental sanity is a continual sore spot. If she is called crazy, she will threaten to slap the offender, but will back off in the name of germophobia. Shortly after the Great War, she lost her family, traumatizing her, and she managed to comfort herself by the thought that they were spared from the aftermath. At some point, she traveled to the Atlas Observatory and managed to make her way through the hostile robot guards. She was disappointed to discover it had been used as a front for ulterior motives, specifically weather manipulation. She would later return to the site, now dubbed Fort Atlas, after it became occupied by the Brotherhood of Steel. Katherine describes the Brotherhood as an interesting lot. Although she is suspicious of their motives, due to their proclivity of hoarding technology, she is satisfied that they at least will keep the more dangerous stuff away from the Raider clans. At some point, Katherine had a girlfriend, who she was only interested in for two reasons. One, Katherine believed that she was an alien, possibly because of how she would also pronounce the letter S longer than needed, and two, she was pretty. This ex-girlfriend told her that she loved books, and Katherine would scrounge for novels for her while she was traveling as a gift. This woman was actually illiterate, but Katherine was willfully blind to her inability to read road signs. She would also chastise this woman for not paying more in taxes prior to the war, only later coming to the conclusion that she was correct for doing so. During her time in Appalachia, she would meet and ally with at least one former dweller of Vault 76. At some point, she would meet and be disappointed with Xerxo. She has never met a living astronaut and would be very interested in meeting Sophia Daguerre. The Vault 76 dweller can tell Katherine all about Daguerre, and she will be enthralled by her story. An astronomer by profession, Katherine is also an avid extraterrestrial theorist. Neither of these professions have much of an income, so she sells weapons and schematics that have a vague connection to the former rather than the latter. Katherine's aforementioned alien theorizing is to the point of obsession, which she either actively or subconsciously bases on her personal preferences and biases. For example, she chooses to idealize a fictional alien civilization that she created while deriding humanity. She derisively refers to humanity as boring, cowardly, ridiculous, and a failed experiment. Meanwhile, she either cannot or does not want to discern science fiction from reality. Such is the case with her opinion on the adventures of Captain Cosmos and its characters. This habit extends into her personal as well as her professional life, for example, choosing to date a woman for two reasons, one being that she thought that she was an alien. She believes she has a winsome personality, while at other times she shows signs of self-absorption and narcissism. She is also very vain, choosing to blame her aliens for her aging. She jokes about filing frivolous lawsuits and used to chastise her loved ones over not paying more in pre-war taxes. Katherine truly loves her work, although at times she feels overworked, considering herself to be constantly busy. As she puts it, it literally hangs over her head, like the sword of Damocles. Believing in proper work-life balance, in her free time, she likes to watch science fiction movies, listen to classical music, though she prefers jazz when she wants to dance, read, even the occasional comic book, drink wine and play board games, sometimes competitively. Her favorite game is the legendary Run, despite its flaws. In her words, she has never been bored with Don't Be Bored Games Company products. When stuck on a theory, Katherine likes to meditate, believing that meditation and exercises are good for the mind. She believes that people should memorize the constellations as a way to not get lost while traveling in the wasteland. This is because, even though they are patterns projected on the stars in the night sky, they will not change over time. Katherine believes that any medium that promotes scientific curiosity and interest in astronomy is a positive force, even if it is poorly written science fiction. This also applies to the Atlas Observatory's weather manipulation technology. That said, she either chooses to not discern between fiction and fact. She ultimately treats science as a religion, while also denouncing religion as ridiculous. She takes her extraterrestrial theorizing extremely seriously. At times, she finds investigating the claims of abductees and individuals to be extremely frustrating. The most frustrating interview she had ever done was with Xerxo, the insane former Hollywood actor turned ghoul. However, she does like to have fun while on the job, such as theorizing about alien abductions and drinking while stargazing. She likes to drink red wine when studying planets because it reminds her of Mars, white wine when studying the stars, and when doing both, a rose. When studying the extraterrestrial, the few answers she does get usually leads to more questions. One of the few things that she is sure of is that the aliens would not need to use cliché Hollywood lines such as, "Take me to your leader." Katherine believes firmly that they would not need an escort to find them. Among her beliefs is that almost all unknown phenomena can be attributed to the extraterrestrial, from witchcraft to her gray hair, including that cats are aliens in disguise, because they come and go as they please, and are often adopted and cared for by humans, allowing for easy observation. Such was the case with her pet cat Herschel, who could seemingly teleport from place to place. Another of her beliefs is that the nuclear apocalypse set human-alien relations back by at least a century, or at least she hopes that it did, as she fears them invading with human civilization in its current state. As she believes that humanity could use the experience of meeting another sentient species as a change at self-reflection. Among her investigations is Colton Pickens' pre-war claim to have met the Flatwoods Monster. She has never met Mr. Pickens, and how she came across this encounter is unclear. From what little she has gathered, she believes correctly that the Flatwoods Monster is in fact an alien. From there, everything she believes turns into baseless conspiracy and conjecture, jealous that Colton had the encounter rather than herself, and judgmental of the man's carrier of selling hot dogs. She is frustrated that she cannot seem to meet the criteria to become a target for alien abduction. Moreover, she believes that she should be invited in, dreaming that said aliens would take her to the furthest stars and walk on other worlds, especially if she is taken with someone who can be her friend. She has no tolerance for those she considers idiots or fools, and would prefer accomplishing her work over being seen as sane, as most people try to avoid spending time with her due to her narcissism. She also is critical of historically patriarchal institutions, citing Maria Mitchell's scientific discoveries being published under her father's name. If a vault dweller is polite to her and tolerant of her wild theorizing, she will grow fond of them. If the same vault dweller happens to be female, Katherine will refer to them as highly attractive. She will grow fond of the vault dwellers, impressed at their ingenuity and productivity. She hopes that they could be her assistant, or even better, her protege. Although she says that a good scientist has a healthy curiosity and an open mind, she will deride other scientific theorists, such as astrology and cryptid hunters, considering them to be pseudo-scientific bunk, which she has no time for. Furthermore, she considers such people as the infamous Calvin Van Lowe the worst. Katherine's views on the adventures of Captain Cosmos include that the character Jangles the Moon Monkey is a perfect representation of the cowardice of mankind, those who would rather use animals instead of humans in dangerous explorations. She says that Dr. Zorbo, an evil green doctor actively trying to thwart humanity's attempts to travel through space with his death ray, is a story that has human origins and has the same level of credibility as religion. She also states that his portrayal was less ridiculous than that of Captain Cosmos. In her opinion, he was meant to be a mirror image of man, one who always wins. To Katherine, Captain Cosmos represents how humanity is completely deluded in how important they are. This specifically alludes to how she sees men as a whole. She views Stella Skyfire as a perfect Hollywood cartoon character, thin on characterization and quieter than she should be. Katherine wishes that she was more prominent on the show,